Today's episode is all about fight nerves. And I wanted to make this because I've had 3 people over the last couple months reach out to me saying they've had such crippling fear, such crippling anxiety that when they step in the ring, they're just freezing. They're not able to execute. They're not able to reach even close to the skill level that they can actually achieve in the gym. So I will have for you guys today 4 tips to help you deal with fight nerves. You're not going to get rid of them, but I'm going to help you hopefully deal with them. And I'm going to talk about the subject in general because sometimes talking about it and helping you guys understand what's happening in other people's heads will be one of the hurdles that will help you get past those nerves, which are just crippling your performance on fight night. So when we talk about the fight world, very often you will hear people say fight or flight. But we've already made the decision before we get in the ring to fight or flight. We're not running away. We've already decided that we're going to take the fight. What can happen though? If we're not looking at fight or flight, we can have fight or freeze. And this is something that hinders many people. They get in and their body just will not go because their brain is most likely just spinning. Too much happening, too many scenarios. So the first thing that I want you to realize, that I want you to wrap your head around, is everybody gets nervous. Obviously there are different degrees of nerves, but I'm going to go through with you and I'm going to talk about the different degrees that I have faced throughout my career, how it's gotten better and the nerves have decreased as I've gone further in my career. And that is something called fight experience. When you have that fight experience, you start performing better simply because you're not as nervous. Yes, the opponents are getting more and more high level. Yes, sometimes the stakes are higher, but overall you've dealt with the situation before and that previous fight experience makes you a better competitor when you have 5, 10, 15, 20 fights under your belt. You're going to keep performing better and better. Now, just to help you guys, to help you wrap your head around this, I have seen very few people in my career who go into the ring and actually legitimately do not appear nervous. They're just like, yeah, it's just another day. I'm just going to go in, I'm going to compete, I'm going to win, blah, 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 blah. And when that happens, when I've seen this in people, they don't win. So I think knowing that, what we need to recognize is that nerves are good. Nerves are going to keep you honest. If you don't have fight nerves, something's wrong. And I would be very scared that if you're just walking around going, nah, no big deal, that you're going to lose. You need fight nerves. They keep you 100% on point and they push you to train harder and to take the gravity of the situation very seriously. So now that we've talked about that, let's move into 4 points, 4 tips that I have, which I have utilized, which I'd like you guys to start trying to implement into your training or your fight camp or just your general life to help you get over these nerves just a little bit. Number 1, and I have talked about this so many times on the channel already, my next points will be new to everybody else, but this first one you've heard, and that is visualization. Make sure you sit down, you close your eyes, and you run through what is going to happen on fight night. You run through the warm-up, you run through walking out to the ring, you run through getting into the ring, you run through the first couple seconds of the fight and how you want to execute. And all that in itself is very, very important to helping you pre-play in your mind those very nervous moments. And once you've done them time and time again up here, when they actually come into reality, when they actually start happening, you're going, okay, I've done this 5, 10, 15, maybe even 20 times beforehand, and you don't freak out quite as much. Tip number 2 is I want you to stop and I want you to figure out what in particular is making you so nervous. What in particular is scaring you so much? And it varies for everybody. But if you don't really stop and face your fear and figure out what it is, you're just kind of avoiding it. And if you don't know what it really is, it's very hard to figure out how to fix it. So for myself, throughout the years, in the beginning of my career, I was very, very worried about losing. It was just something like if I lost, it was just going to batter my ego and I didn't know if I could take it. So that was where the nerves came from. It was not, oh, I'm going to get hurt. Or the camera crews are there and lots of people are watching me. There's a big crowd, there's camera crews. I'm worried about what they think. It was none of that. It was just me setting high expectations for myself, wanting to reach those expectations and feeling that if I fell short of them, I was going to be very disappointed in myself and everything I'd worked towards. Once I figured that out, once I went, okay, you know what? This is what scares me, then I could sort of start wrapping my head around going, you know, if you do lose, if it comes to that at some point in your career, it doesn't mean it's the end of everything. It just means there's a bounce back period, a period where I have to recover and see what I'm made of and see if I'm able to jump back up and keep trucking forward towards my next goal, continue towards my dream of being a world champion, 2-time world champion, 3-time, so on and so forth. But for everybody else out there, you need to stop and you need to reflect on why you are so nervous. And then once you've done that, you go, okay, I'm really scared about getting hurt. I'm really scared about getting knocked out. I'm really scared of getting low kick KO'd. I'm really scared of my girlfriend seeing me in the crowd and seeing me lose and that she's going to leave me or something. Whatever this scenario may be, once you face it, then you can talk to somebody about it, or at least wrap your head around it, sort of chat about it to yourself in your head, and that will help. It's basically like anything in life. When you let something sit and fester, if it's a relationship, if it's fight world, if it's a goal you have and you're doing nothing on it, the longer you let things sit without bringing them out, without thinking on them, trying to hide them away, the worse things will get. You need to bring it out and expose it. And once you do that, I truly believe it will help you in the ring. It'll help you be the best version of yourself, and you can face those fears before the fight, not when you're actually in the ring. Next up, and this is a very important one, I have talked about this time and time again to people who tell me they freeze. I go, you have to create mock fight scenarios. You do not want to step in the ring after a whole training camp and have that be the only time where you felt like it was actually a fight night. You can do little, almost mock performances beforehand to get yourself just used to those nerves. So how would we go about doing that? Well, my suggestion, my go-to, is always almost do a little inter-club fight, and it might not even be with somebody from a different club. It might be, okay, I'm going to find the best guy in the gym, or one of the best guys in the gym, or a bunch of guys are going to Shark Tank me, but instead of just doing that, we're going to have something like 30, 40 people show up and watch me, and it's all the lead up to it, which should make you nervous. It's that approaching night where you know people are coming. Maybe they're all going to bring their camera phones. Maybe you're going to tell them, I want you to record some of this and I want you to put it out on social media. Whatever little elements are there fight night, you want to recreate that. And if you go in and you do this mock fight night, maybe 6 weeks before the fight, and then 3 weeks before the fight, when you actually get to fight night, you won't be as scared because you've had those pre-fight warm-ups beforehand. These are very different than just going in for a sparring session when you're laughing, you're joking, you're just playing around with your buddies. You on these nights are really going to go in and you know people are going to put you through a really hard sparring session. You might get hit to the body, you might get hurt, you might get chopped to the leg, you might sort of hobble out, and you're going to be pushed beyond almost any class in terms of cardio. You need to go in scared. And that brings me to my fourth point for tonight, and that is creating fear around your workouts. If you go into every training session super happy, just like, oh, this is going to be fun, this is going to be a breeze, I'm going to go in, I'm going to have a blast, and I'm going to head home, take a shower, and there's no nerves, I believe you're doing something wrong. I have nerves when I go to train almost 50% of the time. It depends on the intensity. I would say half of my workouts are not intense enough where I'm actually scared of them, and the other half legitimately create fear in me. I have butterflies in my stomach driving to the track because I know how hard it is. I have butterflies when I go to sparring days because I know it's not going to be easy. I'm not going there to have fun, to have a nice chill session. I'm going to put in hard work. I also get butterflies before I do hard pads because I am doing 5 or 6 4-minute rounds with a 30-second break, and I know how hard that is, and I know how exhausted and fatigued and how deep I have to dig to make it through that 3rd, 4th, and 5th round after you're just drained from those first couple rounds with that minimal break. So make sure that some element of your training sessions is scaring you. If it's not, make them harder. And when you go into training sessions with those butterflies and you face your fear every time and you show up, you train. Next time you're scared, you show up and you still train. Bit by bit, you will become more comfortable with those nerves. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, you are not trying to get rid of the nerves. You're trying to learn to control these nerves. Once you can control them, once you can learn to face them, when they start getting into your stomach, you get those butterflies and you can just go, and you can breathe away and visualize, and then look back on the times during training camp where you put yourself through tough scenarios and you came out. Once you can do all that, then on fight night, things are much easier, and hopefully you will not freeze. And I'm just really trying to be creative here because freezing is something that's never happened to me before, but mostly I think because I started competing when I was 7 or 8 and I just went to the tournaments and I was super scared back then. I remember going and being really scared, and then I was 9 or 10 and I was still doing them going, oh, okay, these are really scared. I even took a break from competing pretty much from 16 to 20 because still I was nervous, I was scared, I was making that transition from karate to kickboxing, and it took me a long time to get brave enough to actually step in the ring. Most importantly, once you recognize that other people, even somebody like myself who has loads of belts, loads of championships behind them, still gets scared and still gets nervous, I hope that'll help you guys just, relax a little bit more and hopefully on fight night be able to go in and perform better than you have been performing. That's all we're trying to do. We're always trying to improve. We're trying to get better. It's not always about being better than every other person out there in every aspect. We just need to go in, we need to perform and improve every time we compete so we can get those belts behind us and ultimately at the end of the day be proud. But you should already be proud to a certain extent because as we talked about at the beginning of the episode, there is the fight and flight. And most people, when given the opportunity to fight, they go, no, I'm just gonna walk away. And that's the flight mode. People decide they don't want to put themselves through that. Anybody who steps in the ring, you've already taken a massive step, a massive move towards being super brave. So you can pat yourself on the back for that. And hopefully this episode helps you get the win in your next fight, helps you become a little bit more like how good you actually are in the gym. I want everybody out there, everybody in the world to see how good you really are. And I know we're only a shell of ourselves in the ring. We're this good in the gym, we're this good in the ring. Some people are this good in the gym and they're this good in the ring. We want to get closer and closer to how good we actually are for real when we don't have those fight nerves decimating our performance. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you found it helpful. Please share it with other people. If you know anybody out there who suffers from fight nerves, share it to them. Hopefully it'll help them. If you guys did enjoy the video, please give it a like. If you haven't already, join the channel and get subscribed. And as always, guys, train hard. I'll see you back here soon for another video.